In its simplest form, diversity is really talking about difference. And I think people have a better grasp of it when they talk about biodiversity. In the natural world, we talk about different trees and species. Hello. When we apply it to humans, I think we're really talking about observable differences that are rooted in our social history in ways that have affected the life outcomes and life choices of particular groups of people. And when we talk about inclusiveness, we're really talking about how do we make those differences such that they are valued as assets and not as things that separate us.
I guess it was the 5 African Americans, we all hung together. So we just kind of created this family, and that was it. And yet we were teaching at Gregory Lincoln, which I remember was primarily an African American school in Houston, and very few of the teachers there looked like the students.
You were there almost at the very beginning of its formation, and so what did it feel like as a person of color?
We would find ourselves telling our students, like, be on your best behavior. At that time, I don't necessarily think for themselves, but more for not wanting the other core members who were non-African American to judge them, so that on the bus ride home, we wouldn't hear all these stories about the students who look like me or look like my roommate. The children that we're serving are in communities that have historically been marginalized and underserved, and those experiences are rooted in histories that are sometimes very painful. And if we don't talk about that, then we sort of pretend that everyone's the same, when in reality we're not, and that's okay. And the difference is not what's important, it's how we value or disvalue that difference.
I would talk to my kids like I would talk to friends of mine in the neighborhood where I was from. So when I used a lot of my Latino heritage with a lot of students who were Latino themselves, they felt very comfortable. And I actually, instead of taking it out of them, I actually used it. So these students were actually plotting points. They were doing regression as 7th graders, things that some individuals couldn't do. And I'm like, well, use your culture. Instead of subtracting it, use it as an additive, use it as a wealth model.
My class is like 99% Latino, and when we get to our poetry section, we really get to talk about ourselves and the fears, the beauties, just the complexities that we carry because of where we come from or the color of our skin or our SES, and that's really where I speak in. And when they're talking personal in our community circles, that's my opportunity to be as transparent and as vulnerable as they are.
I think, like every organization, Teach for America has gone through an evolution, and in truth of fact, we're still evolving. There are some who will say that we focus so much on socioeconomic status to the exclusion of looking at race and ethnicity. There is a place for everyone in the movement for educational reform and for educational excellence and equality. But we certainly know that there is a value in having someone in the classroom who looks like that child. That gives them something to look up to.
When people are saying to me, well, race is part of that, but do we have to focus on it so much? It matters that you can connect with students. It also matters that I can bring myself and learn how to connect. Both are valuable, but it's been about who's been allowed at the table, right? And so it's just disingenuous if I keep saying to my African-American students, you can do this because I did it, right? Like that doesn't ring as true as it would if you said that, right? It matters. It matters that I support them, but it's critical that they have a chorus of voices.
Over 40 to 50% of the core are now people who self-identify as coming from the communities we serve, as representing different kinds of racial and ethnic and linguistic backgrounds. And so I think we have to do more at getting our story out about how we've changed and evolved over time, and recognizing that we're still in the process of changing and evolving and learning from the accomplishments we have, but also from the stumblings that we've made along the way.
It's only been about 2.5, 3 years that I've been proud to say I'm Teach for America. So I'm 20 years in this. This is my 20th year. And so Teach for America, I would tell people that it was a 3-letter bad word that I just did not say for years. And so now I can genuinely get my other core members of color, particularly African Americans, to come back, and I can genuinely say, you guys come on board. I really think they're trying to make some changes.
Diversity is not a field goal. It's an ongoing process. We can't count on the fact that children that are being taught today are representative of the children, say, in 10 years. But if we have a mindset that says paying attention to diversity is a significant part of being a teacher, then we've set the stage, if you will, for a mindset that is open and receptive and ready to embrace difference as an asset.
One of the things that you have to do as a researcher is to use, fancy words. You have to do something called épauché, which means to bracket your biases about this. And I think that's one of the things that we really have to start practicing. Really instilling some sort of humility, even in people that believe that they have a very developed notion of what it is to be critically conscious. And we really have to teach that sense of humility almost as a metric.
I mean, I think there is a particular burden for people that are Anglo to learn how to listen. Are you able to process that, bracket your biases, right? Have humility, and still be a leader, and still make sense of that? How to train for that is as diverse as the diversity we're trying to have. But I think it starts with moments of sitting at a table, be willing to ask the questions, be willing to be vulnerable and listen, and then hear what people have to say about the work you're trying to do and really hear it and really take it to heart.
I think we have to believe that cultural competency is something that's important for us as teachers to convey to our children, and that we have to believe in them and what they bring to the table, that they have value. What we're doing is paving the way for a future generation as well. We're setting the foundation, we're stumbling, we're learning from our accomplishments so that 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we won't even have to have this conversation of why it matters. We will know in our hearts and in the work we do, of course it matters.
No one is gonna walk into my classroom on my most amazing lessons and hand me an award. And my salary sometimes isn't gonna be what I deserve. I'm gonna be overworked, I'm gonna be tired, but this is what social justice is. It's about going more than, let me meet you halfway. With students, sometimes they need somebody to go to them like the entire way. What we're doing right here, just as like a community of educators who have faith in education rather than like the system, can really navigate through to find pockets of hope. Like at the end of the day, what I feel like brings everyone who really believes in education together is the students.